We'll switch over now. We'll show you the app. We've entered the patient's baseline data. We're going to show you the change in steroid toxicity between baseline and the V2 visit. We've already entered the baseline data. So let's enter the data for the first follow-up visit. Say, hypothetically, this is 13 weeks. This is the main screen, the home page, if you will, of the GTI app. And it is arranged according to a logical flow in a clinical trial visit for a patient. So the first thing that happens in a clinical trial visit is the coordinator will update the patient's medications. The patient's baseline medications were already entered. The patient was on insulin. You can see over on the lower left at baseline. Now, at the first follow-up visit, the patient is off insulin. His glucose metabolism has improved. In addition, his lisinopril, 20 milligrams at baseline, is now 10. So he has had improvements in both of his medications to treat glucose metabolism and to treat blood pressure. And now we confirm that the intention was to decrease both of those. The vital signs from entry are shown on the left. The patient was 1.64 meters tall at entry and weighed 96 kilograms. The BMI calculated automatically. His weight has improved substantially. He's now down to 89.1 kilograms. His blood pressure has also improved, going from 144 at baseline to 132 over 85. There's been a significant improvement. The hemoglobin A1C is now down to 5.5%, despite the fact that the patient has been able to stop his insulin. His LDL hasn't changed very much. It's 3.1 now in follow-up. So the LDL is now complete. Bone mineral density is a very sensitive indicator of prednisone. So the bone mineral density is 5.1 at the femoral neck and 5.0 at the lumbosacral spine. Now the clinical research coordinator might put the patient into a room. The research coordinator has finished with what he or she needs to do with the patient, checking medicines, vital signs, weighing the patient, etc. Patient goes into an examining room where the clinical investigator examines the patient for myopathy, for skin changes, for neuropsychiatric toxicity, and for infections. So the patient did have myopathy at baseline, but now it has resolved. So up in the upper left, you see that he had a minor steroid myopathy at baseline. The app cues the investigator into what these definitions are. All of the use materials are contained within the app. Now we move to skin effects. So the patient had lots of skin effects at baseline. In the upper left, you see that there was moderate hirsutism, there was a minor acneiform rash, and there were striae that were moderate. There are skin effects now at follow-up. The hirsutism has improved. It is now only minor. And the definitions, again, of each of these grades is included in the app to facilitate rigor. You can blow up some of these images. Acne has actually resolved. The striae remain moderate. Then we move to the neuropsychiatric domain, and the patient had these manifestations of steroid toxicity at baseline in the neuropsychiatric domain. There was moderate insomnia and moderate depression. Both of these are now minor at follow-up. Again, the definitions of these neuropsychiatric toxicities are included. And then we go to infections. The patient had oral candidiasis at baseline, one episode of oral candidiasis, again, between baseline and week 13. So that completes the changeable elements of the GTI. And now we round out the list of other toxicities by looking at the specific list. And we'll just say that there have been no additional toxicities, but it shows that the patient had a cataract at baseline, and that was carried forward now to this follow-up visit because items in the specific list represent damage, they don't change. Okay, so now we're complete and we can get the first GTI score. Over on the left-hand side, you see the individual domain scores. And then in the upper right, you see the cumulative worsening score and the aggregated improvement score. And what this demonstrates is that there has been a little bit of worsening. The patient did have an episode of oral candidiasis between baseline and week 13, but all in all, there was substantial improvement in steroid toxicity. AIS had actually improved by minus 209 points.